Days pass, and much to Dex's dismay, the possibility of Hoop Group having a real season is still a long shot. Tamika, Anthony, and Dex continue to show up in the gym every day at 3 o'clock. Principal Kim continues to come too, mostly just to watch them do three-man weaves up and down the court. Still, Dex holds out hope that the situation will see a sudden shift, and that they will walk into the gym on a normal Tuesday afternoon and see dozens of kids stretching and shooting, just like they were on the first day of school. And in the interim, there is, well, school. Dex, Chris, Anthony, and Jaden are sitting in their creative writing class, finishing up their daily journal entries, when Miss Cahill announces that she is splitting the class up into pairs to work on their writing projects. Sometimes two heads are better than one, she says in her sing-song way, and sometimes our peers can see things in our writing that we can't see on our own. So when I match you with your partner, I encourage you to be open to sharing. Be vulnerable and transparent with your thoughts. Dex is crushed by this latest turn of events. There are no tests in creative writing, so this assignment is going to comprise the majority of the semester's grade. That alone isn't cause for trouble, though. Dex is more left-brained than right, more technical than creative, but he is confident in his ability to score well in a writing class, if he can work alone. Academics aren't a team sport, and in Dex's experience, group projects only serve to ruin his grades. Dex likes school, and he hasn't missed a day since Mrs. Cunningham's first grade class at Laurel Tree Elementary. He's also never gotten a grade lower than an A on any report card. There was Mr. Phillips' sixth grade world history class when Dex's grade hovered perilously close to an 89% all semester long, but a voluntary 15-page report on the Haitian Revolution against French colonial rule made him the boost he needed. Like Jaden, Dex dreams of enrolling in Willowbrook Academy after graduating from Carter Middle School. Every year, he drops his address and mother's name into the contact form on Willowbrook's website to request more information. And every year, he races to the mailbox to grab the most current copy of the prospective student brochure, the course catalog, the letter of greeting from Dr. Malcolm Shropshire. Though Dr. Shropshire was the star point guard from Willowbrook's 1998 state championship basketball team, he's now better known for earning a FHD from Stanford University and coming back to serve as headmaster of his alma mater. Dex hopes to take a similar path. He doesn't want to go to Willowbrook to play sports. He wants to take the kinds of classes and participate in the types of extracurricular activities that will secure his own spot at Stanford or some other elite college. He then plans to become a wealth manager for high-earning athletes. This will put him as close to the NBA action as he could ever hope to get, and Dex is totally okay with that. He may not be good enough at basketball to become the next Gary Payton, but he'll be good enough at his job to tell the guy who is the next Gary Payton how to invest his money. While Miss Cahill runs a finger over her class roster. Dex wonders who his partner is going to be. He looks to his left at Sierra, a mahogany-colored girl with waist-length box braids who transferred to Carter in the middle of last year and quickly established herself as one of the smartest kids in their grade. She's a know-it-all, and although she'd probably rip whatever idea he has to shreds, she'd at least be as committed to getting an A on the assignments as Dex is. Next, he looks to his right at Anthony, who's hunched over his desk, pencil scribbling wildly across his paper. He's still writing in his journal, a task that Miss Cahill requires at the beginning of every class. This is an opportunity to take whatever is on your mind or heart and put it on the page, she says. The students only have to produce one single-spaced page, but Anthony always writes 3 or 4. Dexter, Miss Cahill says, interrupting his thoughts, you'll be working with Chris today. Dex nods and slides into the desk next to Chris's. He is certainly relieved that he won't be forced to work with Anthony, but he's not sure what to make of Chris or his work ethic. Less than a minute later, Chris lets Dex know exactly where he stands. Look, man, he says, I don't really feel like doing this right now. Dex looks up at Miss Cahill, who has announced that she'll start making rounds to check on everyone soon. I don't think we really have a choice. Chris reclines in his seat, stretching his legs long and crossing them at the ankles. Go ahead and do what you gotta do. I'm just saying, for me, writing's not really my thing. Dex feels his straight-A heart start to speed. We're supposed to be working together. What are we gonna say when Miss Cahill comes by? We should probably act like we have something to talk about, Chris says nonchalantly. After a beat, he adds, what about basketball? Didn't I see you on the first day of hoop group? Dex nods, and then, with the seed of an idea taking root in his gut, he pivots his focus from creative writing and decides to bust open the door of opportunity that has been cracked before him. For the next 20 minutes, Dex talks up hoop group, telling Chris about Tamika's incredible coaching skills and how she's almost turned Anthony into a real deal big man. Dex also tells him that Principal Kim is totally on board with hoop group having a season if, and it's a big if, they can actually get enough kids to field a team. You should come back, Dex says. His eyes are steady and pleading, but of course, Chris just laughs. Y'all ain't the hoop group, y'all the hoop trio. And why would I come back to that when I'm already on a team? Because, Dex says, readying for his big reveal, if you come back, I'll help you with your assignment for this class. The smile is gone from Chris's face to an instant. Oh yeah? How you gonna help me? You said writing's not your thing, right? Yeah. So I'll help you with whatever you need. Chris is doubtful, but also aware that his options are limited. For real, he says. Dex smiles. For real. That afternoon, after the shock of Chris's arrival at hoop group practice begins to dissipate, and after Anthony and Chris agreed to squash their earlier cafeteria beef, Tamika decides to take advantage of the extra body by staging another game of 2-on-2. This time it's Chris and Dex versus her and Anthony. They play 2 games. Afterward, with sweat dripping into his eyes, blurring his vision, Chris looks up at the gym's clock. 4:46. He only has a few minutes before he'll have to hop on his bike, fly over to the Lorraine Y, and settle back into his role as the heir to the king's throne. When he agreed to Dex's deal, Chris's expectations for the hoop group were low, very low. Yet he quickly discovered that the team actually has promise, if 3 people can be considered a team, that is. To be clear, the hoop groupers are far from good. Anthony still looks lost on the court, and he would be called for countless lane violations in a real game. Dex, meanwhile, can barely get the ball to the rim when he shoots, but they're not bad either. There's a budding sense of togetherness that wasn't there on the first day of the season. On top of that, Chris feels comfortable around them, almost like he could actually be himself. So, Tamika says between gulps of Gatorade, "Did you quit the Ballers or what?" Chris nearly chokes on his own drink. "Of course I didn't quit. Why would I quit?" He pauses, clears his throat. "I just worked something else out." Chris doesn't tell the hoop groupers this, but since the Ballers' practices don't start until 4 o'clock, he's already figured that even if he stays for most of the hoop group practice, he can still get to the Ballers right around 5 o'clock. To account for the missing hour, he'll tell his father that he has to stay after school for extra help, that he'll get to practice as soon as he can. His dad will be surprised, but Chris doesn't expect much pushback. "Does that mean you're coming back for real then?" Tamika says as she lifts an eyebrow in disbelief. "I don't know," Chris says after a couple seconds of thought. "I mean, what's even the point? Even if I came every day, y'all still don't have a team without 5 people." "Yeah, well, we're working on that," Tamika snaps. Chris snorts a laugh. He knows full well no one is coming to the hoop group anymore. "Okay, tell me the plan then. Just trust me, okay?" Tamika says, with her eyes on the floor and the toe of her sneaker kicking against the sideline paint. "We're working on it." "Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it." "And when you see it," Dex cuts in, "when you see that we have a full team, will you come back for real?" Chris hesitates. He never expected this to turn into anything. He was only there because of the deal he made with Dex. "Yeah," Tamika adds, her eyes meeting Chris's. "If we have a real team with 4 other people, will you come back then?" Chris's mind is racing, searching for an out. "How about this?" he says, finally. "If you can get Jaden to come back to hoop group, I'll come back too." "Wait," Anthony says. "Isn't Jaden already on the Ballers?" Dex and Tamika nod with agreed confusion. Jaden hadn't come back to hoop practice since the day he walked out. No one dared to consider that he wasn't playing basketball at all. Chris shakes his head emphatically. "Nah, Jaden definitely ain't a baller." Suddenly, there is a loud clap from Dex as he considers the possibility that hoop group might become a real team after all. "This is great," he says. "If Jaden isn't on the Ballers, I'm sure we can get him to come back." Chris sneers at Dex's enthusiasm, at how his glass is always half full. Chris doesn't expect them to convince Jaden to come back any more than he expects his father to let him leave the Ballers. But there's Tamika jumping in and signing on to Dex's plan. "Okay, it's a deal," she says. "We'll get Jaden to join, and then you'll come back too." Chris takes a long swig of his water before saying, simply, "Maybe." While he wants to make sure he's not committing to anything, he knows that he doesn't want to rule anything out either, and that fact surprises him more than he'd ever let on.